So this is a conversation where I want to see what you think. I'm not suggesting I know what needs to happen. I'm not suggesting any authoritarian tactics by states. I just want to see where you're at on this issue. Coronavirus is exploding at the national level. Some states are doing well, but when you look at the United States as a country in total, our worst 4 days in the United States in terms of new cases came in the last 5 days. So you go to the very beginning of the pandemic, the four worst days in terms of new cases have all happened in the last week. And yet, here in Massachusetts, I'm so thrilled to say, we reported 0 deaths yesterday for the first time since the pandemic started. And in fact, New England and New York and New Jersey, this sort of 8 state consortium, these are some of the best places to be right now in terms of the degree of reduction in cases and transmission. Vermont had no new cases yesterday. New Hampshire had only 22. Maine had only 34. As I said, Massachusetts, 0 deaths and about 100 new cases. Connecticut, about 150. New York and New Jersey, still with higher case numbers, but dramatic reductions. And again, relative to their population, the numbers are not quite so scary. So in terms of the consortium, our governor, Charlie Baker here, has expanded the no quarantine bubble to include New York, for example. Now you're going to be able to, if you travel from New York to Massachusetts, you're not going to be required to quarantine for 14 days, assuming you meet certain requirements. Masks are everywhere. As many of you know, I've been in Martha's Vineyard this week. Everybody's just wearing masks. You go everywhere, it's masks, masks, masks. You're not going anywhere and seeing people without them. But look at what's happening elsewhere. You've got these huge swaths of red states plus California, which are seeing record cases. You've got California, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama, Ohio. And at some point, you're only going to keep that walled off for so long. At some point, if the cases keep exploding in certain parts of the country, the cases will start going up here in the Northeast. You have flights between these parts of the country. So-called mandatory quarantines are really tough to enforce, and people know it. People aren't doing it. So does the Northeast need to do something? Because we're hopefully looking at being able to safely reopen schools in the fall and do more. But if the cases start bleeding over from the more disastrous parts of the country, it's going to ruin the work we've been doing for months at this point. Again, reminder, I played this clip earlier, I'll play it again. Dr. Fauci is talking about 100,000 new cases a day in the US if things don't turn around. He says the infection rate is out of control in some parts of the country. Take a look at this clip one more time.
It is going to be very disturbing, I will guarantee you that, because when you have an outbreak in one part of the country, even though in other parts of the country they're doing well, they are vulnerable. I made that point very clearly last week at a press conference. We can't just focus on those areas that are having the surge. It puts the entire country at risk. We are now having 40+ thousand new cases a day. I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day if this does not turn around. And so I am very concerned.
So what should the Northeast do? I mean, legally, this is difficult. The Constitution grants ingress and egress to and from states, and I am not proposing that we violate the Constitution. Airlines have shown they are committed to having more flights and having flights be more full. So I don't know what, if anything, can be done. But if cases continue to explode to this degree in some parts of the country, eventually the pandemic's going to come back to the Northeast because people are traveling, people are ignoring quarantine. Can you do roadblocks, but not to stop people from coming in, merely to register that they are coming in and ask them, where will you be quarantining? You still can't really enforce it. You don't have the resources, but maybe if people go through that, they would be more mindful and maybe be more likely to stick to the required quarantine. I don't know. It's obviously beyond the resources of any state to really enforce it. So I have no idea. My question to you is, what should be done? We are beyond the early hotspot phase. The early hotspot phase was based on flights and the earlier spots of contagion, you had hotspots. It's now based on policy. The places with the better policy are doing better. The places with the looser policy are doing worse. What should be done? Should the Northeast do anything? Let me know what you think. And we'll have more coverage of this on our Instagram page at David Pakman Show. Make sure you're following us there.